So I am working on worksheet 9 in our packet from geometry, and we're talking about transformations. Now, transformations is the general name of these things, okay? So transformations are different ways to change a graph or transform a graph. So we can do slides, flips, turns. We can make things bigger, make things smaller to make new figures. A transformation is basically taking an initial or pre-image and making it into a final image. And then we can talk about what that is. So there are 4 transformations here, all right? The first one is a translation. So you have a highlighter. You can use that to sort of make that stand out. A translation is basically sliding in any direction. You can slide it over, you could slide it over and up, you could slide it down or at a diagonal. Notice the image doesn't change, it doesn't get bigger or smaller, and it doesn't rotate it. It just pushes it. So up, down, left, or right. So imagine cutting out this pentagon and then sliding it around, but not spinning it. That's a translation. And don't confuse translation and transformation. Transformation is that idea of transforming. And there's 4 ways to transform. One is a translation. The other is a reflection. And so when you reflect something, it's like a mirror image. So if you look at this, this is my line of reflection. So this is the pre-image, it's the original. And if we would fold our paper down, we get that mirror image. So you can reflect different directions, but it all has to reflect over one line. All right, we have a rotation. I think sometimes a rotation and reflection can be tricky depending on the figure. So in this rotation, here's my point that is being rotated. So if you would take this and you would spin it around like this is a pivot point, this is your final image. And then the last one is called a dilation. Just like when your pupils dilate or undilate from being in light and dark, same idea. The pre-image is big and it's shrunk down to a smaller plus, but it could also be small and created in big. Now, in a dilation, nothing gets rotated or reflected. It's just big to small. And the reflection, it should be a mirror image, but the rotation is the one where you're going to sort of see it all come around like that. All right, so there are your 4 transformations. Got it? All right, now we are going to focus on reflections today. So our transformation that we're focusing on is a reflection. So if you flip it over and you look at this paper, we have this introduction. So we're going to have, it's either on this one, it's going to be a reflection, a rotation, a dilation, or translation. And you'll see the rest of our notes, we're focusing on reflections. All right, so what would you call this one? Is it the reflection, rotation, dilation, or translation? Be careful, it can be tricky. You think rotation? I would like to agree with you. Someone else is maybe think it's a reflection, but if you look, do you see how the A is down here and the B is up here? If we rotate this about the origin, if you can picture taking this and spinning it around, do you see how it pushes the B down to the bottom now, an A? So you are correct, this would be a rotation. Now, rotations don't always have to be about the origin. We could rotate anywhere, but this one was rotating and spinning it around. All right, number 2, what do you think that one is? What's this transformation? I hear reflection. Do you see that it's reflecting? Well, it's a mirror image, right? And that mirror image comes from that reflection. All right, what about number 3? Translation. Do you see, now let's talk about this real quick. I know it's pretty little here. There's an A here, and this one is A with a little apostrophe. So this is A, this is called A prime, which is the final image. So pre-image, final image. And you guys are right, it is a translation. Now, we could get a little more technical. This image A was gone, it went up 1, 2, 3, and it went left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if we did that, we took all these points, moved them up 3, and then left 5, all of the points would move over. All right, last one. Is the pre-image the bigger one or the smaller one? It's the bigger one because see, it's just A, B, C, D. There's no primes. And then it shrunk. See the A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. All right, which one is this? That's dilation. All right, perfect. All All right, so those are examples of 4 of them, and now we're going to look and focus on reflections. So if you slide your paper down, we have a little bit of work to do. First, we need to plot these 3 points, or 4 points. Now, when you go to plot points, you connect K to L to M to N in that order. So where is K? Remember, it always goes X and Y. So what's X? 2. So go over to the right 2 and then go down 4. So watch your order and label it K. All right, then plot L, -1, +3. There's L. So go ahead and connect these. I'll try to do a good job here. And there we go. All right, M, -4, +2. And then the last one is N, -3, -4. That's what makes this a little bit tedious, is taking the time to graph this. Okay, there is my pre-image. Do we agree? It's not a rectangle, it's a quadrilateral, right? Just 4 sides. We don't know anything about it, just 4 sides. Now, what the directions say is to graph it in its image under the reflection on the x-axis. This is honestly why you have a highlighter. Where is the x-axis? Show me with your arms. Is it there? Okay, it's your horizontal one. Yep. So this is your x-axis. So take your highlighter and highlight it, because I want our focus to be there. That's why you have the highlighter, to sort of help draw your attention to that x-axis. Now, I'm going to use a different color pencil, but you are welcome to do it in pencil and then highlight it if that helps you. But the idea here is when I go to reflect a point, I'm going to start with K. Here's the original at 2, -4, and I want the reflection, K prime, over the x-axis. So here's my x-axis. Can you imagine taking your paper and folding it? This point would mark up here, wouldn't it? So count. If I am 1, 2, 3, 4 units down, I would go 1, 2, 3, 4 units up, and that would be K prime. So make sure you have a K with a little apostrophe. And what is that ordered pair? 2, 4. Can you see that okay? All right, now that I've got K prime done, I'm going to label this L prime and make my new ordered pair. All right, so L is above my x-axis, so I'm going to reflect it below. So go 1, 2, 3, go 3 below, and label that L prime. All right, what is L prime? -1, -3. All right, and then we're just going to keep doing that. So it is a little bit of a process. So find M prime. Oh, we want to connect them, don't we? I better use my little... You guys have, if you really are bothered by the lines, you could use your note card that we have. That would help you. All right, so I've got my M, which is 2 units above, so I'm going to reflect it. Are you getting that idea of reflecting it? If this had extra ink and I folded it, it would plot there. And I'm going to connect there. And the point is -4, -2. And my last one is N prime. Okay, so find N. So it's sort of going to flip-flop. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 below. So go 1, 2, 3, 4 above. Now, if we came around to look at your paper, would you have them connected like you're supposed to? Would you have them labeled, their original labeled as KLMN, and then do you have the primes, K prime, L prime, M prime, N prime? All right, and what is N prime as an ordered pair? -3, +4. So that's it. You've reflected this image. Now I have mine in 2 different colors, and I think it might not be showing up on the board as dark as I want it to, but can you see that reflection? Do you see it? Especially since I have 2 different colors. I think it's hard when it's all in pencil. So once you graph it in pencil, if you want, you could use someone else's highlighter or your own highlighter to trace the figure. But can you see that reflection from my green to my red? Do you see the flip-flop? Okay. Now, you can't always just reflect over the x-axis. You have to read what it's asking for. All right, you ready for the next one? Okay, first thing we need to do is just take a minute. You're graphing that same image, KLMN. So take a minute and graph this and label it, and then we'll talk about the reflection. So we'll just take a minute and graph on our own. Double check that we agree. Remember, this is a different graph, but same figure. Now, obviously, if you graph this wrong, then your other image is going to be wrong and your points will be wrong. So take your time. See if we agree on our graphing. It should be the same as the last one. You another minute to graph? Are you good? So where are we reflecting this one? Reflecting over the y-axis. Okay, the y-axis is that that vertical axis. So this is sort of my focal point. Guys, it's not always going to be the x or y-axis, so having that highlighter sort of helps my brain focus on where it is. Okay, so here I go. Let's start with K. K needs to fold over here, so it's 2 units to the right, so make it 2 units to the left. So it can get a little overwhelming because it's laying on the same line. Do you notice that? What is K? -2, -4. All right, now L prime. Well, L is 1 unit to the left, so now we're going to make it 1 unit to the right. All right. What is that point? 1, 3. And then I'm going to connect it. I'm going to connect as I go so I don't lose anything. All right. M. So I got M prime now. Okay. M is 1, 2, 3, 4 units to the right. So we're going to make it 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. I'm really just looking at how far away it needs to be to the other side. All right. So I got that connected. And what is that point? 4, 2. And then I've got N prime. All right. N is 1, 2, 3 units, so it's going to go 3 units to the right. So look at your paper. Do you have them labeled and do you have it connected? Oh, well, I'm not doing a very good job there. There we go.
We have a little deal for you.
All right. What is my N value? 3, -4. Do you guys agree with that? Now, just take a pause before we move on. I can see the reflection visually, but what I want you to look at is how did these ordered pairs changed? So K went from 2, -4 to -2, -4. What changed? So the X value changed, agreed? Is this even in focus? Is that better? Okay. If you look at this one, the Y value is still 3, but what happened to the X value? It went from negative to positive. Do you agree? Look at the next one. -4 is now +4. -3 is now +3. Do you see that when we reflect it over the y-axis, it's actually not the y value changing. You went from being on the left, which is a negative x value, to the right, or vice versa. Now, go back to the one we did before that. When we reflected it over the x-axis, this is example 1, do you notice that the x stayed the same, but the y flipped? Do you see that? So when I was here above at M prime moved it below. So it's still at -4 for X, but the Y value went from being a +2 to -2. The -3 stayed the same on N. Where's N? Right here. But it went from being down here at -4 to being up here at +4. So you can see there are rules to reflection, but I'm not going to ask you to memorize those rules. I'm actually going to ask you to use the graph to help you find that next thing. And here is why. Look at the next one. It is example 3. We have the HIJK again, but notice the points are different, so it's going to be a different figure. Did you catch that? So take a minute, let's graph this, but now we're going to reflect it somewhere different. So here I go. H is -3, -2. That's H. And then I, -3, -3. Oh, I'm going to have to write below it. So H and then I, connect those. J is 0, -6. I probably should just turn my paper. All right. And then what do I have? K?
Yeah.
2, -4. All right. So sketch that in. Do you have everything labeled? What was this supposed to be? K? All right. I'm not happy with my H labeling because it just seems a little bit out there. All right. I feel better. Oh, no, I don't. Anyone want to yell at me for that? Oh, you can't see it? I'm sorry. That's supposed to be H, and I labeled it I. Okay. Now, we're supposed to reflect it over the line y equals -3. So again, these are all reflections. Where's the line y equals -3? Up and down at -3. Well, here's -3. Up and down. That's x. Isn't that where x is -3 if I go up and down? And if I put a line here, x is -3 because everything, but the y values change. Isn't this where y is -3? Do you see it? Guys, the y value is -3 anywhere I go here. Any ordered pair I pick, 2 -3, 3 -3, 5 -3. Do you see that idea? Y will always be -3. So here's an easy way to remember it. When you have y equals -3, it cuts through y axis. So if it says y equals, it's going to cut through the y axis at -3. So you get this horizontal line. Okay, that's why you have the highlighter. You have the highlighter because it is hard to keep this in my mind, because even though I highlighted that, I'm still going to have people who are going to take this and flip it over here. I don't want to reflect over the x-axis. Forget that's even there. You're folding your paper in half here. So point H is now going to be down here, 1 unit down as H prime. So that's H. It is now -3, -4. Okay, now I is on the line that I'm reflecting. So can I do anything with it? I and I prime happen to be the same thing. It reflects onto itself. So there's my first little piece. So I stays the same. Oh, I almost lost that I prime that I have to write. And then what's J prime? Well, J is 1, 2, 3, 4 units, 3 units below. So now I'm going to go 3 units above. Isn't that 0, 0? What's another name for 0, 0? It's the point of origin. Yep. I know, right? All right, I'm going to connect these. And then K prime. Well, if it's 1 below, make it 1 above. So when we do our reflections, I'm not asking you guys to memorize rules. All I'm asking you to do is to take the image and actually physically reflect it so you have a visual. And then you're just going to say, hey, I reflected this. My new point is 2, -2. So I don't need to memorize rules, because this one changed a little bit differently, didn't it? The x values are all the same, but the y values, it's not as easy to see that. All right, can you see that reflection, how it flip-flops? All right, we have one more. So flip it to the back. Can I flip mine? And we're going to graph that same thing again, but this time we're doing a different reflection. So take a minute and graph it. I mean, oops. So it should be the same image, but double check yourself. Hey, do we all have this graphed? Okay. correctly? Are we all correct? Oh, no. Okay, here's my image. Do you agree with me? Yes? Fabulous. All right, where are we reflecting this one? Well, it has to say x equals -1, right? So it's a reflection. Now, where are you telling me x equals -1? So you're telling me over here? Yes. So guys, it's really easy to mix up because you see x and you're thinking about the x-axis, right? Well, where is x -1? Right here. But x is -1 no matter where I go up or down on this, because this is -1, 0, -1, 1, -1, 5, -1, -5. So x will always be -1 here. So how can I remember this? When it says x equals -1, what's it do? It cuts through x-axis at -1. Okay, so now we need to reflect it. The big reason I'm asking you to use a highlighter or a colored pencil is because it is so easy to be drawn back to the y-axis because it's that thicker, bolder line, right? So I am ignoring that and I'm reflecting over the line x equals -1. So h prime, almost. H prime would be 2 units to the right since h is 2 units to the left. All right, look at this and see if you agree. Use your line of reflection. 2 units to the left, 2 units to the right. We're trying to ignore that darker line there. All right, that would be what? Yes. All right, let's find I prime. So I is over here. I feel like I'm a little out of order. All right, so I would be here, and I'm 2 units, so I'm also going to be 2 units. Here's I prime. And what is that point? 1, -3. All right, let's go for J prime. J is 1 unit to the right, so make it 1 unit to the left. Well, you guys are dropping a lot of stuff today. Where'd it go? Oh, by me. Oh, my goodness. Here, catch. Sorry. Good catch. Okay. What is J prime? Do you guys agree? -2, -6? All right. And then the last thing is K prime. All right. Well, it's 3. 1, 2, 3. I almost used my line. 1, 2, 3 for my reflection. 1, 2, 3 to the right. That is K prime. Go ahead and connect it. Again, if it would help you, once you get it drawn in pencil, you could always trace it with another color so you can see, here's my reflection, original or pre-image, and my final image. And what is K? -4, -4. Okay, fabulous. So we focused on reflections, but there are 4 types of transformations, right? Reflection is where you rotate or flip something like a mirror image. Then you have that's a reflection. Translation where you slide it. Rotation where you spin it around a point. And dilation where you make it bigger or smaller. All right, so that is what I wanted to do with that. Now, what time is 1:58? Okay, so here's what we're doing between today and tomorrow. Pay attention to this. Between today and tomorrow, you have worksheet 10 and you have an ed puzzle. So while you have these highlighters out, let's just look at something real quick. On worksheet 10, do you see the next page in your packet? I did cover all the examples, right? Okay. Do you see this one says reflect across the x-axis? What's going to make this worksheet a lot quicker is it's already graphed for you. Do you see how the first one's already graphed? Well, the x-axis is here, so do me a favor and highlight that. Now, they don't give you the original ordered pairs, so when I go to reflect Q and I get Q prime, I am then going to write that over here. So you don't have to write the original ordered pairs, and you don't have to graph the original figure, but you are going to use the original pre-image to create your other one and label it. Now, notice this one says y equals 3. So I'm asking you to highlight these so we draw attention to it. Isn't this where y equals 3? So you're going to rotate that. Oh,